In the diagram below of triangle AED and line segment BABCD, line segment AE is congruent to line segment ED. So on these segments, I'm going to put 2 tick marks to show that they're congruent. And line segment AB is congruent to line segment CD. So I'm going to put 2 tick marks here. Which statement is not necessarily true? So we need to go through each 4 of these statements, evaluate them, and see which one is not necessarily true. So the first one is that triangle AED is an isosceles triangle. We see that this is true because of this given here, that AE is congruent to ED. This means that 2 sides of the triangle are congruent to each other. And this is the definition of an isosceles triangle. So we're not going to pick option 1 because option 1 is true. So we're going to cancel out option 1. Option 2, angle EAB, this angle here, is congruent to angle EDC. We know this is true because, again, we can see that triangle AED is an isosceles triangle. So if I were to redraw it on this side, triangle AED, and we knew these 2 sides are congruent like we do in the diagram, the angles opposite these 2 congruent sides will also be congruent. Therefore, option 2 is going to be true. So I'm going to cancel out option 2, and I'm going to erase my highlighting, but we know those 2 angles are congruent, so we're actually going to keep them there. All right, the next thing is that triangle BEC is isosceles. So now it wants to know, is triangle BEC isosceles? So looking at it, it doesn't seem like it would be isosceles, but if we think about these 2 triangles here, AEB and ECD, we know that these 2 triangles are congruent by side angle side. So we know that those 2 triangles are congruent by side angle side. Therefore, all of their corresponding parts are congruent. So this means that line segment EC will also be congruent to line segment EB. Because if those are corresponding parts of those 2 triangles that are congruent, we know those 2 sides also have to be congruent. So we're actually not going to pick number 3 because we know that number 3 is true. So I'm going to erase just the pink. So now this is all the information we've going through known has been true. So obviously our final answer is going to be option 4, but let's see why. So option 4 is now saying that angle BEC is congruent to angle ECB. These 2 angles are not going to be congruent. Angle BEC won't be congruent to ECB because these are not the opposite sides of our isosceles triangle. The angles that will be congruent are the sides opposite from this isosceles triangle in here. So angle EBC and angle ECB. So option 4 is not true. Therefore, we're going to circle it. That's the correct answer because, again, the problem is asking what is not necessarily true.